truths of New Thought this month. That's the theme for the month of January. And there are 4 basic spiritual truths that we're going to discuss. We have been discussing, in fact. And the first one is that we are divine beings. We are divine spiritual beings. And Scripture tells us that we are made in the image and likeness of God. God is nearer than our hands and feet, closer to us than our breath. The Father and I are one. And as the Apostle Paul wrote in Corinthians, do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? The temple of God is holy, and that temple is you. And so we believe at any moment, at absolutely any moment, we can awaken to our divinity. And that is really why we are here, is to awaken to that divinity that is within each and every one of us. Truth number 2, God is always present in our lives because everything is God. God is the creator, God is the creative process, and God is the creation. Everything is God. Everything is God. Or said in another way, it is. It really is all God. And so in a blink of an eye, we could become aware of this spiritual truth. Really aware on a deep, deep level. Truth number 3, which is our main focus of our talk today, and it is God's power of creation is constantly at work through a creative process that we call the law. We call this the law. And this creative process works through us constantly. Never, ceaselessly actually. It's ceaselessly working through us. And so with each and every breath at any time, we can become available to work in harmony with it. You have to be available. So truth number 4, God is good all the time, 24/7. And that is that the infinite goodness that is available to all is always present. And we simply by being, are heirs to the kingdom of good. We are heirs to the kingdom of good. That's the spiritual truth. And that's why we're here, to deepen into that, to become aware of it and to become available to it on every level. So becoming and staying awake, aware, available, and aligned to these truths is the key to living this empowered, connected, on purpose, dream-filled, God-centered life. That is what we are all moving into. And how about making this your monthly affirmation? I am now awake, aware, available, and aligned to the presence and the power of God in my life. Great affirmation. Second part, I look for what I want to see, and I see it everywhere I look. I look for what I want to see, and I see it everywhere I look. In other words, I become aware that it is always present, and stay open and available to it, no matter what. So today's talk, which I kind of changed the title, is, surprise, it's on the side of things. It is aware, and being aware and available to God's good. That's what we're going to talk about this morning, especially that available part. To be available, to be open, despite all circumstances that might look out of harmony with this good. Because we want to live in harmony with the law, because the law is going to give to us anyway. So today I'm not going to give you this long list of points and thoughts and suggestions and practical tools. Not going to do that. Today I have one idea for us to leave with. I have one idea, and it's my deepest desire and my fondest hope and my deepest dream that we all move into it as we leave here today. And as we are impressed with this truth, we'll see exactly what I mean by it. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, writes in this thing called you, "Let nothing come forth from your mouth that you would not want to have returned to you in your life."
Okay.
Makes you take a little bit of responsibility, doesn't it?
Could you say that one more time?
I would like to write. Let nothing come forth from your mouth that you would not want to have returned to you in your life. The power that brought the universe and the universe of all that is into being is the same power that is within each and every one of us. That's how powerful we are. We are co-creators. So that power that has created all that has created us, is present within us. It is the truth of our being. Are we aware of that? Are we available? Are we available to that? And Ernest Holmes writes in the Science of Mind text, as God thought, I love this one, as God's thought makes worlds and peoples them with living things, so our thoughts make our world and peoples them with experiences. This statement of truth said another way, that power that created life, when God spoke the words as recorded in Genesis, "Let the earth bring forth all living creatures," is the same power that resides in our words. In our words. And it says in Proverbs, I like this one because it's quite true, and we might all take it in a little deeper. There's life and death in the power of the tongue. There's life and death in the power of the tongue. Statement of truth said yet another way. The power that flowed through Jesus, allowing him to feed the multitudes, to heal the sick, to raise the dead, is the same power that flows through each and every one. The same power to heal, to be aware, is flowing through each and every one. And this other quote from Ernest Holmes. The word which you speak would be just as powerful as the words which Jesus spoke if you knew your word was the law whereunto it was sent. But you must know this within, not merely accept it with your intellect. So it is really being aware that everything is within. Within is where we do our creation, within, and then the outer. If we're looking for the outer to manifest happiness and all of those other desires in our lives, we can forget about it because it's within, and then it manifests. So we're learning to go within, to become aware that we have a power within us. With each breath, we become available to work in harmony with that power. So becoming available to knowing that your words have the power of the Almighty in them. Through this knowing, we become available to use this power consciously, to heal, to uplift, to empower, to create a joy-filled, God-centered life. That is what it's all about. And that is what we're all hopefully moving into, creating a joy-filled, God-centered life. And there's paradox in this power, and it is that it's always working. This power is always working, is always creating. We can't sometimes have it work through us, and other times not. It's simply the way of creation. It's always working. It's always working. We are creative beings because we have been made in the image and the likeness of the Creator. We have that essence within us. So we create our lives. And the creative process, this universal law that we speak of, is a neutral, impartial process. It doesn't say yes to creating one thing and no to creating another. That's not how it works. It is the universal affirmative yes. It always says yes to whatever we are thinking consciously or subconsciously. It's always saying yes. Sure, you can have more of that. Yes. Yes. So be aware of what we're thinking. It takes the direct, this law takes the direct impress of our thoughts and brings into manifestation that which we speak, which we feel, which we think. It's bringing it into, it's the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect. The law, the creative process, always working, always working. We are always creating our lives. The question is, are we creating our lives of what we desire, or are we unconsciously creating lives that sometimes seem a bit like a mess? Sometimes it looks messy. So we're creating it. If we really believe this spiritual truth, I wonder if all the things that come out of our mouths, that rattle around in our heads, would have such free reign if we were consciously aware of everything we speak, think, and feel. And I want to throw out a pretty strong statement. The only thing that stands between you and your dreams, those God-centered, God-planted passions, desires, and yearnings, the only thing that stands between you and them are the thoughts between now and then. The thoughts between having the desire and then manifesting it. What are we thinking in between? The actual vision and then the manifestation. Wait a minute, you might say. We have lots of conditions around. We're in a horrible economy. Everything is falling apart. There are roadblocks everywhere. There are so many things that can stand in the way of us manifesting our dreams. And this could be the facts of a situation. But Ernest Holmes writes in Science of Mind, by the activity of our thought, things come into our lives, and we are limited only because we have not known the truth. We have thought that outside things control us, when all the time we had that within which could have changed everything and given us freedom from bondage. He also wrote in Thoughts of Things, all the good that you desire awaits your acceptance of it, but you cannot experience it while you are denying it. The key to right thinking and right living is the steady affirmative pattern of thought that only God's good enters your life. And that is the takeaway. That's the one thing I want us all to deepen into. That's the idea for today, that only God's good, to affirm this pattern of thinking, that only God's good is taking place in our lives. It's allowed to enter it. It's allowed to enter it. Only God's good enters my life. Only God's good enters my life. If that's all we ever say, that's enough. Is it not? Is it not enough? I think it's pretty darn good. It's better than some of the things I think are pretty good. Go to the higher power. Let the higher power have its way. Let the higher power do the work through each and every one of us. We can align with that. And here's an example of the power in being available to that kind of thinking. It's a story of a young girl, 11-year-old Angela. She was stricken with a debilitating disease, and it involved her nervous system. She was unable to walk. Her movement was restricted in many other ways as well. The doctors did not hold out much hope of her ever recovering from her illness. They predicted she'd spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. They said few, if anything, within her would come back to normal after contracting this disease. The little girl was undaunted. There, lying in her hospital bed, she vowed to anyone who'd listen that she was definitely going to be able to walk and move. She was going to be able to move one day. She was transferred to a specialized rehabilitation hospital in the San Francisco Bay Area. Whatever therapies could be applied to her case were used. The therapists were charmed by her undefeatable spirit. They told her all about imaging, about visioning, and about seeing herself walking again. And they thought if it would do nothing else, at least it would give her something to do while she spent her time in her bed. Angela would work as hard as possible in the physical therapy areas, but she also worked as hard as she could in visualizing herself moving. She kept seeing herself moving. Then one day, as she was putting every ounce of energy into visualizing this, a miracle happened. A miracle happened. Her legs didn't move, but the bed started moving. In fact, it began to move all around the room, and she screamed out, "Look what I'm doing, look what I'm doing. I can move, I am moving." Of course, the whole room, everything in the room was moving, and things were falling and breaking all around her. But in Angela's mind, she had created this. She was moving. She was moving again. And a few years later, she was off of the crutches, and she was walking and attending school normally as a natural, normal person. But the whole point of this, that's from Chicken Soup for the Soul book series. The whole point of this is that Angela moved. She believed in it, and that is what she believed caused the movement to happen. So anyone